This is Everyday Tension. Real stories based on real experiences about everyday conflicts people rarely talk about. This story was shared anonymously. If you'd like, you can support the channel by liking or subscribing and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Here's what happened.
I remember the day I finally signed the papers for the lake cottage. It was a Tuesday. I drove straight from the title company to my parents' apartment. My hands were shaking a little on the steering wheel. It wasn't the biggest place, just 2 bedrooms and a sunroom that looked out over the water, but it was paid for. I'd been saving since my first real job after college. Every bonus, every tax return, anything extra went into an account I labeled cottage fund, so I wouldn't touch it. I didn't go on vacations like my friends did. I wore the same winter coat for 5 years. It sounds stupid when I say it out loud, like I'm trying to be a martyr or something, but I wasn't. I just had this picture in my head that I couldn't shake. My mom, sitting in a chair by a big window, reading one of her mystery novels without the sound of traffic from the street below. My dad, puttering in a little garden, growing tomatoes that always got blossom and rot, but he'd try anyway. A place that was quiet, a place that was theirs. Their names were on the deed now. I gave them the folder with all the documents inside. My mum cried. My dad hugged me for a long time, which was unusual for him. He just kept saying, "Thank you, sweetheart." That was the dream. That was the whole point. Ava found out that same night. I don't know how. Probably my mum called her, all excited. My phone buzzed while I was heating up some soup for dinner. "A cabin," Ava said, her voice loud and tinny through the speaker. I held the phone away from my ear. "That is so cool. Oh my God, we are going to have the best weekends up there. I can already smell the campfires." I stood there in my kitchen, staring at the pot of soup. "It's not really a cabin, Ava. It's a cottage, and it's for Mom and Dad." "Well, duh," she laughed. "But it's got 2 bedrooms, right? So there's room. I can take the kids up in the summer." "They'll lose their minds." "Ava," I said. I tried to make my voice gentle. I really did. "Listen, this is for them. A place to relax. It's not a vacation home for the whole family." There was a pause on the line. I could hear her TV in the background, some cartoon. "What are you talking about? Of course it is. It's the family lake house." "It's not," I said, and my stomach started to feel tight. "It's their house. I bought it for them. You have your own life, your own house." She laughed again, but it was different, sharper. "Wow, okay, got it. You buy them a house and suddenly you get to make the rules." "Classy, Sarah." "It's not about rules," I said. But it was. Whatever. "Mom and Dad will let me come. You'll see." She hung up. I stood there until my soup boiled over and hissed on the stove. That was the first conversation. It set the tone for everything that came after. Ava is 2 years younger than me. For most of our lives, that meant she got what I had, but newer and better. My hand-me-downs were just until she got the version she actually wanted. My friends became her friends. My interests suddenly became her passions, but only for a week or 2. It was childish stuff, I know. Sibling stuff. I thought it would fade when we became adults. In some ways it did. We don't fight over clothes anymore. But the core of it, that feeling that anything of mine was also somehow hers, or at least available to her, never went away. When I was 25, I saved up and bought a used car. It was a blue Honda Civic, nothing fancy, but it was the first thing I'd ever bought with my own money that wasn't a necessity. I loved that car. 2 months later, Ava's car broke down. Instead of figuring out a repair or asking our parents for a loan, she just started using mine. She'd come over and ask for the keys. At first, it was for a quick errand. Then it was for a whole afternoon. Then she had it for a weekend. She'd return it with the gas tank on empty and candy wrappers stuffed in the door pockets. When I asked her to stop, to make other arrangements, she got offended. "Why are you being so selfish? It's just a car. I'm your sister." My mom would say, "Just let her use it, Sarah. Be nice. She's in a bind." So I did. I felt crazy for being so angry about it. It was just a car. But it wasn't about the car. It was about the assumption. The utter certainty that what was mine was hers for the taking. The apartment thing was worse. I was 28, living in a one-bedroom. Ava was going through her divorce. It was messy and awful, and I felt terrible for her. She asked if she could stay with me for a week or two while she found a new place. I said yes, of course. What else could I say? She moved in with 2 suitcases. 2 weeks turned into a month. A month turned into 3. She ate my food, used my laundry detergent, slept on my couch, and left a damp towel on the floor every single day. She'd have friends over late, laughing and talking when I had to work in the morning. I'd come home and my favorite mug would be in the sink, unwashed, with coffee sludge stuck to the bottom. I started staying later at the office just to have some space. When I finally, gently, asked what her plan was for getting her own place, she blew up. She said I was kicking her out while she was down. She said I was heartless. She said, "You've always been jealous of me." She moved out the next day, leaving a pile of her mail on the kitchen counter. We didn't speak for 6 months. The silence was a relief. I felt guilty for feeling that relief, but it was true. So when I bought the cottage, I knew right away. I had one non-negotiable rule in my head. Ava could not treat this place like she treated my car or my apartment. This wasn't for her. This was the one thing I was doing that was just for my parents. I told them, separately, a few days after they got the keys. I took my dad out for coffee. I said, "Dad, this place is for you and Mum. I need it to be a peaceful spot for you. I don't want Ava treating it like a party house or a free vacation spot." He nodded, looking into his mug. He's a quiet man. "I understand, Sarah. It's a very generous thing you've done. We'll respect that." It was harder with my mum. Her face got that pinched look it gets when she's caught in the middle. "But she's family, Sarah. How can we tell her she's not welcome?" I said, "You don't have to tell her she's not welcome. Just don't give her a key. Don't invite her for weekends. If she asks to come, say it's not a good time. This is your place. You have a right to privacy." My mum sighed. "It just feels so mean." I didn't know how to explain that it wasn't mean. That letting Ava in would be what was mean, because it would ruin the one thing I was trying to give them. For a while, it worked. My parents would go up on Fridays and come back Sunday afternoons. They'd send me pictures. Mum on the dock with a book, Dad with a tiny seedling in a pot. They looked happy. Tired, but a good tired. Ava would make comments at family dinners. "The lake house looks so pretty in your photos, Mum. When do I get to see it?" My mum would get flustered and change the subject. Ava would shoot me a look. I'd ignore it. Then, about 4 months after they moved in, my mum called me. Her voice was hesitant. "Honey, Ava was wondering if she could stop by the cottage this weekend, just for an hour. She says she has a housewarming gift for us that she wants to leave on the porch as a surprise." I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. "Mom, you know how I feel about that." I know, she said quickly. "But it's just to drop something off. She won't even go inside. She just needs to get in the gate. Would it be okay if I lent her my key for the day?" She'd give it right back. I didn't want to say yes. Every part of me screamed not to. But my mum sounded so hopeful, so wanting to believe this was a harmless, kind gesture from her other daughter. I was the one making everything difficult. I was the one creating conflict. I sighed. Fine. For one day. And she gives it right back to you. Of course, my mum said, her voice bright again. Thank you, Sarah. You'll see. It'll be fine. I hung up and immediately felt sick. I told myself I was overreacting. It was a one-time thing, a gift drop-off. What was the harm? The harm was that my sister is clever. The harm was that I knew her, and I let my mum's desire for peace override that knowledge. Things were quiet for a few weeks after that. No mention of the cottage from Ava. I started to relax. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe she had just dropped off a gift and that was it. I installed the security system at the cottage myself. My parents are getting older, and the place is isolated. I wanted cameras at the front door and the back sliding door, mostly to see if any packages were delivered, or to check in if they weren't answering their phones. I got alerts sent to my phone. I usually just glanced at them and swiped them away. A deer on the lawn, the mail truck. It was a regular Thursday morning. I was in my bathroom, brushing my teeth, half awake. My phone, sitting on the edge of the sink, buzzed with the distinct tone of emotion alert. I spit, wiped my mouth, and picked it up without thinking. The notification said, "Back door, motion detected." My parents were 3 states away visiting my aunt. The cottage was supposed to be empty. I tapped the notification. The live feed loaded. It showed the kitchen. For a second, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe the camera was triggered by a shadow. Then a figure walked into the frame. It was Ava. She was wearing yoga pants and one of my dad's old sweatshirts, the one from the bowling league he was in 20 years ago. She moved around the kitchen like she owned it. She opened the refrigerator, looked inside, and took out a can of soda. She popped the tab and took a drink. Then she turned. She looked directly at the camera, which is mounted high in the corner of the room. She knew it was there. I had shown her the app once, bragging about the peace of mind it gave me. She smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a smirk, a victorious little curl of her lips. Then, slowly, she held up her hand. Between her fingers was a silver key. My whole body went cold, then hot. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. I just stared at the screen. She gave the key a little wave, then dropped her hand and walked out of the frame, taking the soda with her. I stood in my bathroom for I don't know how long. The toothbrush was still in my other hand. The feeling wasn't just anger. It was a deep, humiliating betrayal. She had looked right at me. She knew I was watching. She wanted me to see. It was a game to her, a game she had just won. I had to sit down on the edge of the bathtub. My hands were shaking. I opened the app again and rewound the footage. I watched her come in through the front door, using the key. She didn't knock. She didn't ring the bell. She just walked in, like it was her home. The first call I made was to my dad. He answered on the second ring. "Morning, sweetheart." "Dad," I said. My voice sounded strange. "Tight. Are you and Mum at Aunt Carol's?" "Yeah, we got in last night. Everything okay? Who has keys to the cottage?" There was a pause. "What? Me, your mum, and you." "That's it. Why?" "I just got a motion alert. Ava is in the kitchen right now." "What?" His voice dropped. "That's impossible. We have our keys. Did she break a window?" "No. She used a key. She walked right in the front door." "I don't understand," he said. But his voice said he was starting to. "Honey, wait. Let me put your mother on." I heard muffled voices. Then my mum came on the line. "Sarah, what's this about Ava?" "Mum, Ava is at the cottage. She has a key." "Where did she get a key?" Silence. A long, awful silence. Then a small, shaky breath. Oh no, Mum. When she dropped off the gift, she had my key for the day. She gave it back to me that night. I put it right back on my key ring. Did you watch her make a copy? No, of course not. I handed it to her and she brought it back. She's my daughter. I didn't think she would. But she did, I said. The anger was a solid lump in my throat. She copied your key. She waited until you were gone, and she let herself in. She's there right now, drinking a soda and smiling at the camera. My mum started to cry, soft, guilty sobs. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I didn't know. I didn't want there to be a fight. Well, there's a fight now, I said, and I hung up. I immediately felt bad for hanging up on my crying mother, but I couldn't handle her tears on top of my own fury. I needed to do something. I needed to talk to Ava. I called her. It went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. On the third try, she picked up. Hey, she said. Her voice was light, casual. I could hear birds in the background. She was probably on the porch. What are you doing at the cottage, Ava? Relaxing, she said. It's so peaceful up here. You were right. It's a great place to unwind. Get out. Right now. She laughed. It was the same laugh from the first phone call about the cottage. Or what? You're gonna call the cops on your sister for being at your parents' house? Good luck with that. It is not your house. You were explicitly told not to go there. By you, she said, her voice hardening. You don't get to make the rules for Mum and Dad. It's their house. I'm their daughter. I have every right to be here. I bought it. I paid for it. My name is on the mortgage, not theirs. I gave it to them to use, not to hand out keys to whoever they want. See, that's your problem, Sarah. You think because you wrote a check, you own everything. You own the house. You own Mom and Dad. You get to decide who's in and who's out. You've always been like this. So controlling. So uptight. This is family. You don't ban family. I was gripping my phone so hard I thought the screen might crack. You copied Mum's key. You lied to her. I didn't lie. I did drop off a gift. A lovely vase. It's on the mantel. And yeah, I got a key made. For emergencies. What if Mum and Dad lock themselves out? What if there's a pipe burst and they need me to go check? You don't even live in the same town. I'm the one who's closer. There is no emergency right now. You're just there because you want to be. Because I told you not to be. Maybe, she said. I could almost see her shrug. Maybe I just wanted to see what was so special about this place that you had to keep me away from it. It's nice. I like it. I think I'll come up more often. Ava, I am serious. If you don't leave, I will drive up there right now. Do what you gotta do, she said, and she hung up. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick, which was true. I felt sick. I paced around my apartment. I watched the camera feed off and on. She made herself lunch. She watched TV on the couch. She took a blanket out to the porch and took a nap. She was making herself at home. Every minute she was there felt like a violation. It felt like she was spitting on the one good, pure thing I had managed to do. I thought about calling the police. But she was right. What would I say? My sister is in my parents' house? They'd ask if she had permission from the owners. My parents, mortified, would probably say yes to avoid a scene. It would be a mess. It would accomplish nothing except making everything more dramatic. I had to do something she couldn't argue with. Something that was legally, definitively, within my rights. The cottage was in my name. For financing reasons, and also because my parents, in their typical way, had insisted. It's too much, Sarah. We can't accept such a big gift. I had told them it was easier for the loan to be in my name, and they could just pay the utilities and taxes, which were minimal. It was a white lie. The loan was paid off. The house was mine. They were my lifelong tenants. It was a technicality I never ever wanted to use against them. But now I had to. That evening, after I saw Ava's car finally leave on the camera feed, I got in my own car and drove the 2 hours to the lake. It was dark by the time I got there. The place was empty, quiet. It felt different. The peace was gone. It just felt like a house now. I had stopped at a hardware store on the way. I had new deadbolts for the front and back doors, and new knobs for the gate. I had a drill and a screwdriver. I'm not very handy, but changing a lock is simple. You just take the old one out and put the new one in. I worked under the porch light, my breath making little clouds in the cold air. It took me about an hour. I tested the new keys. They worked. I put the old locks and the extra new keys in a Ziploc bag. I would give a set to my parents. I would not give a set to Ava. Then I installed 2 more cameras. One facing the driveway, one facing the side of the house where someone might try to pry open a window. I connected them to the app. Now I would get an alert if anyone even stepped on the property. I didn't call my parents to tell them what I'd done. I didn't call Ava. I just drove home. I was exhausted. The anger had burned down to a dull, heady ache in my chest. The next morning, a Saturday, my phone buzzed repeatedly just after 8 a.m. It was the new driveway camera. Ava's car was there. She got out, walked to the front door, and tried her key. It didn't work. She tried again. She jiggled the handle. She stepped back and looked at the door, confused. Then she looked around, and her eyes landed on the new camera, which was in a more obvious spot than the old one. Her face changed. The confusion melted away, replaced by a cold, hard understanding. She stared right into the lens. She didn't smile this time. She just stared. Then she got back in her car and drove away. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Ava. "You're unbelievable." That was it. No argument, no plea, just that. I didn't reply. What was there to say? My mum called me that afternoon. She sounded tired. Ava called me. She's very upset. "I'm sure she is," I said. "She said you changed the locks." "I did." "Sarah, was that necessary? Couldn't we have just asked for the key back?" "We did ask, Mum. She didn't listen. She went ahead and made a copy anyway. Asking doesn't work with Ava. You have to make it so she can't do the thing. That's the only thing she understands." My mum was quiet for a long time. "She says you've banned her, that she's not allowed at her own parents' home." "It's not her home," I said, but my voice was losing its force. I was just repeating myself. "It's yours. And she's disrespecting you by ignoring your wishes. My wishes. The rules of the house." "I know," my mom whispered. "I know what she did was wrong. I'm so angry at her for tricking me. But she's still my daughter. I hate this division. I hate that my children are at war over a house that was supposed to make us happy." That stung. It stung because it was true. The cottage had become a battleground. The thing meant to give peace was now the source of the worst conflict our family had ever had. "I'm not at war, Mum. I'm just defending a boundary, a line I drew in the sand. She crossed it on purpose. What was I supposed to do? Just let her have free run of the place? Let her turn it into her personal weekend getaway? You saw how she treated my apartment. Is that what you want for your house?" "No," my mum said, and she started to cry again. "I don't know what I want. I just want my girls to get along. We can't," I thought. "Not like this. Not when one of us believes she can take whatever she wants from the other." That was 6 months ago. Ava is not talking to me. She comes to family holidays, but she doesn't look at me. She talks to my parents, to our other relatives, but it's like I'm a ghost at the table. If I walk into a room, she finds a reason to leave it. The silence is back. It's not a relief this time. It's heavy and sad. It makes Thanksgiving dinner taste like nothing. It makes Christmas feel tense and wrong. My parents are caught in the middle. They still go to the cottage. They love it there. But I know it's tainted for them now. My dad doesn't talk about his garden as much. My mum mentioned once, offhand, that she feels like she's being watched when she's there because of the cameras. I told her she could unplug them, but she said no, it's fine. It's not fine. I go up sometimes, usually on a weekday when I know they aren't there. I sit on the porch and look at the lake. I try to find the feeling I had when I first bought it, that feeling of having done something right, something good. It's hard to find now. Mostly I just feel tired and angry. I'm still angry. I'm angry at Ava for being so entitled. I'm angry at my mum for being so weak. I'm angry at myself for not finding a better way, for being the one who had to lay down the law and become the bad guy. Sometimes I wonder if I overreacted. Was it just a harmless visit? Was it just my sister wanting to see our parents' new place? But then I remember the smile into the camera, the wave of the key. That wasn't harmless. That was a declaration. That was her saying, "Your rules don't apply to me. I do what I want. I don't regret changing the locks." I don't regret making it physically impossible for her to walk in whenever she pleases. I know in my bones that it was the only thing I could have done. If I had done nothing, she would be there every weekend. She'd have her friends up. It would be her lake house in her mind, and my parents would be pushed into the background, unable to say no to her. But I do regret that it came to this. I regret that my gift to my parents is now the thing that split the family. I regret that my mum cries when she thinks no one is looking. I regret that family dinners are so quiet now. Ava thinks I'm controlling. She thinks I'm using money to wield power. Maybe there's some truth to that. I had the money to buy the cottage, so I got to set the terms. But the terms weren't unreasonable. They were just, let our parents have this one thing for themselves. Was that really so much to ask? I don't know if this will ever get better. I don't know if Ava will ever apologize, or even acknowledge that what she did was a betrayal. I doubt it. In her mind, she's the victim. I'm the cruel sister who banned her from her family. So we're stuck here, in this quiet, resentful stalemate. The cottage is still there, the lake is still pretty, my parents still go, but the joy is quieter, dimmer. And I'm left holding the key, literally and figuratively, wondering if the dream was worth the price we all ended up paying. I wanted to give them a safe space. Instead, I built a wall, and now we're all on one side of it, and Ava is on the other, and I don't know how to make a door.